right, everyone, this is the common mistakes riders make throughout the beginner course and beyond. First, properly fasten your helmet. A lot of riders have no idea how to fasten their helmet up properly, and here's a helpful tip for you. Put your helmet on first, and then sunglasses if you're wearing them, and then put on your gloves. If you put on your gloves first, it may be more challenging to fasten your helmet. So this is how to properly fasten your helmet. Check it out. All right, everyone, to properly fasten up your helmet. First thing, put the helmet on. Get my hair out of the way. So you have the little D-rings right here, 2 of them. First, put it through both. Then separate the 2 rings and put it back through the one on your right or back through the one with the tab on it. Once you do that, pull it tight so it's snug to the bottom of your neck. Then usually on the left-hand side, there's a button so the tail isn't flapping around. To undo it, just reverse the process. Unbutton it, pull on the tab, loosen it up, and there you are. All right, the next tip. Cannot start the motorcycle. So here's an easy way to figure out how to start the bike up. So the helpful tip is once you sit on the motorcycle, automatically straighten up the bike, handlebars straight, and put the kickstand up. So once you get on the bike, side stands all the way up, turn the key on, pull in the clutch fully, hit the engine off switch, the kill switch, the on-off button, turn it to on or run, make sure the bike is in neutral, and then you hit the start button. At least 3 or 4 times per class, a rider is trying to start the bike up, they're starting to freak out, they start waving at one of us instructors to come help them out, and we have to do the little, hey, your kickstand is down. And then they look down, they put the kickstand back up, and then the bike starts right back up. So make sure all these things are accomplished before you hit the start button. Another common thing see riders do all the time is letting the clutch out too fast, and because of that, the bike stalls. So if the clutch is all the way in, it's 0%. There's no power going to the bike. And as you ease out the clutch to fully out, that's 100% power going to the wheel. So it's not an on-off switch, it's more like a dimmer switch. So the slower you move your hand, the more predictable the bike, the more confidence inspiring, and the bike won't freak you out. A helpful tip is once you start to move forward as you're taking off in first gear, once you begin to move, hold the clutch there and wait until you get going, build a little bit of momentum, maybe give it a tiny bit of gas, and then you could slowly inch your way out, not even an inch, millimeter your way out as you gain speed. So you can ease out the clutch until you start moving, then hold it there, tiny bit of gas, and then you millimeter your way out a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further. Too often, once the rider starts to begin to move, like say they ease it out to 50%, and that's where the friction zone is, where the bike actually starts to travel forward. Once they start to move forward, they let go of the clutch and the bike stalls. And sometimes riders do that 5, 6 times in a row. So we often have to go up to the student and say, all right, once you start to ease out the clutch and move forward, hold the clutch there for about 20 feet. Build some momentum. Then you can start to slowly continue to ease out the clutch as you're going forward. Another common mistake is not pulling in the clutch when stopping. So a helpful tip is pull the clutch in about 5 feet before you stop the bike. That way, you're guaranteed not to stall the bike, and then all you have to worry about is smoothly braking. If you do not pull in the clutch, the bike will stall. So another easy way to think about it is whenever you're coming to a stop, get that clutch pulled in and slowly brake. Or you could even do just both hands will squeeze. Both hands will go at the same time. But I've often found if you're going 10 miles per hour, you start to slow down, you start to squeeze the brake, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. The bike might stall before you get the clutch fully in. So I recommend about 5 feet before you actually stop, get that clutch fully in, and then you could slowly ease on the brake. Another common mistake I see riders in the beginning course and beyond, looking down while stopping, and tip overs are common in the beginner course. They're coming to a stop, they look over at the instructor or down at the cone or just down to either side, and the bike wants to fall over in that direction. So the helpful tip for this one is keep looking straight ahead until the bike is fully stopped and you have both feet planted on the ground. Another common mistake is you're going a little bit too slow, so you don't have much stability. So a lot of the times in beginner course, we're just doing a straight line. Just take off, go in a straight line, put your feet on the pegs, and then just come to a stop. And it'll turn right back around and just do that again. So when you start, a lot of riders, they're going very slow, just 1 or 2 miles per hour. They're kind of looking down or right in front of their front tire, and this is their path of travel. They're very wiggly and wobbly, and then they finally come to a stop. The next time they come around, or after their 3rd, 4th, 5th time, then they take off, they get going 5, 6, 7, 8 miles per hour, and they're looking straight. Their line, their path of travel is much more stable. So the helpful tip is take 3 or 4 steps to gain a little bit of momentum. I recommend at least 5 miles per hour before you put your feet on the foot pegs. There's no need to put your feet on the foot pegs immediately when you're going 1 mile per hour. Take 3 or 4 steps, get some momentum. There's no rush to put your feet on the feet pegs. Next, this happens 4, 5, 6, sometimes 10 times per class. May not be the same rider, but it always happens. Even riders do this out practicing. I see bikes at cycle gear, stopped at taking a break during rides, everywhere else. Is you leave the key on, the ignition on, in between exercises, while you take a break, whatever else. And it's very easy to tell when the bikes are lined up in a row during the beginner course because one of the bikes had the light on. A helpful tip to think about this so you don't do it and your battery doesn't die. Think of your key as a seatbelt. You need to turn it off before you dismount the bike. So you can't get out of your car unless you take off your seatbelt. Well, think about the same way on a motorcycle. You can't get off the bike until you turn out the key. Next tip is not rolling off the throttle while shifting, and that causes the bike to rev up. And then sometimes the riders get kind of freaked out by the noise, and they let the clutch back out with that higher RPM, and the bike jerks forward, and sometimes really freaks out the rider, or they accelerate very quickly. Then they get even more scared, then they slam on the brake, often causing a crash. So an easy way to shift, you get going. The helpful tip is get going at least 10 miles per hour in first gear before attempting to shift into second. The reason why I say that, if you go 2, 3 miles per hour, once you pull in the clutch and try to go through the shifting process, you're slowing down. So by the time you get into second gear, you're going too slow for that gear and the bike often stalls. This happens all the time, almost every single class that I teach. So helpful tip, get going in first gear, get your momentum going, 10 miles per hour. That way, when you shift up into second, you might slow down to 8 or so. So step number 1, get going 10 miles per hour. Step number 1, then you go to 0% throttle. You pull in the clutch and then you shift up or down, whichever one you're doing. Then you ease the clutch back out, slowly release the clutch back out. And once that's happened, once these are done, then you go back on the throttle. A little bit at a time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10%. Remember the clutch, the front brake, and the throttle, they're all like dimmer switches. Everything is slowly on and slowly off. You don't want to be a heartbeat. Very jerky, very abrupt. Slowly on, slowly off. Another common mistake is not looking far enough ahead. So the helpful tip is to point your chin, not just your eyes. So imagine you take your eyeball out and you glue it to your chin, right? Point your chin in the direction you want to go. So as the rider is approaching this turn, right, you have your whole peripheral vision going, you're looking straight ahead, but as you start to get a little bit closer, you're kind of figuring out, okay, this is where I want to turn my head. This is where I'm looking. And the purple lines here, it represents where you're generally looking. So you're just going down the straightaway, you're kind of looking at everything, you're trying to plan your line. As you're approaching the corner, your vision kind of narrows to pick out a place where you want to turn. And before you actually turn the motorcycle, you want to turn your head, point your chin, and look into the direction where you want to be going next. It's not going to make any sense for this rider to look way back here behind them, because who rides a bike with their head looking straight behind them? That doesn't make too much sense. You want to be looking to where you want to end up. So as you turn your head, your vision is still looking where you want to go. You're planning your line. And as you travel 20 more feet, your vision travels 20 more feet. As you go another 30 feet, then your vision travels 30 more feet, right? So it's always going in the direction you want to go. And oftentimes riders, you know you turned your head too early if you ever have to sneak and look forward again. So as they're approaching the turn, sometimes the rider would turn their head right here and then back straight again, and then turn their head again and then have to look straight again. If you ever have to look forward again, your head turn was too early. So this is what it looks like. So the tip is, don't turn your head until you're about a half second away from turning the bike. It should be one head turn and then the bike turn, not 3 or 4 head turns. Next thing I see quite often is they're not counter steering, right? It's a forward push on the handlebars, it's not down. Handlebars don't go like this on any motorcycle. They go forward and backwards. Another misconception is when you push the handlebars, if you just do this, right, here's a motorcycle that looks like a face. As you push, it's not just this. Stretch it out, stretch out the word and physically do that. It's push, right? You push on the handlebar, which will make the bike lean. And the helpful tip for counter steering, which will help out dramatically when you go to do this in practices, is go with the bike. You want to stay on top of the bike. You don't want to separate yourself from the bike. This is what I mean. When first learning to counter steer, a lot of riders, they want to go right, they push down or out, causing the bike to lean underneath them, and they're disconnecting from the bike. Versus whenever you want to push right, you want to stay on top of the bike. So you're going to the left, you push left, and you stay on top, in line with the bike. If you're going left, your left arm is bent, you're looking up to the left. If you're going right, you're pushing right, your right arm is bent, you're looking to the right. So try to stay on top of the bike versus pushing the bike down and staying neutral. You only do that when you're going slow speed turns. Faster speed turns, push and lean with the bike. Go with it. All right, everyone. Those are my common mistakes that I see riders make in the beginner course. Like the video, comment, share it with others that may help out. If you have a friend that's looking to get into the beginner course, these tips should probably give them a better foundation and understanding prior to going, as well as any rider that are just new, under 6 months of riding. These things could probably be helpful as well. If you have any other tips, feel free to comment below. And keep in mind, I've been teaching the beginner level course in California since 2014. And currently, the last 4 months at least, I have been teaching Saturday through Tuesday 2 beginner level courses in a row every single week for the last 3 months straight. And these are the common things that I see every single class. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.